Can you say now?
Okay. 2 more minutes, please. Some issue with the laptop mic, but let's use yours.
Hello, check, check, check. Hello.
Also, we are building.
Check, check.
Mumbai. Once in a while, events in
Testing,
places like
testing,
Nagpur, Jalandhar,
testing for live
and we
stream.
give FOSS.
Can you hear
We
me?
have FOSS grant program through which we fund free and open source projects or communities. And again, we have funded more than 12, 13, in fact, I don't have the exact number, but more than 12, 13 projects or organizations. Okay, I will follow the usual slides and will repeat few of the stuff or avoid. Okay, so these are programs we are getting communities in multiple cities. Recently, we started in Coimbatore. Yesterday, we had the first event at ThoughtWorks office. Again, if you are from or if you have friends in other cities, then you would think they should community exists in your native place or your friend's place, feel free to reach out to us. Or you can again fill that form that we have there. We'll reach out to you. We'll talk to you how we can establish a city community in your group, in your city. The grant program through which we fund projects, organizations, or an event to promote free and open source software, mostly, but it's not just limited to software, it's hardware, it could be project related to data or design. We also have FOSS I was talking about. We are currently presenting around 20 colleges. We are aiming to support 30 colleges this fiscal year. This year till July. Okay, and we also have a public policy initiative. We have been doing not much, but we have been we had a public policy director very recently. Now we are thinking of having at least one person starting from next month. So agenda with public policy is how we can promote FOSS, so promote the use or creation of FOSS at scale of, let's say, government or academia, or in our case, we want to see how we can have 200 clubs instead of 20 through public policy. Okay, we can use a lot more professors to establish FOSS club rather than we, spending a lot of time. Can professor get convinced and start club on their own? We are also part of an alliance called OSS. OSS stands for Open Source. I have to look at the full form. Open Source Alliance for Social Innovation and Sustainability. And we have around 5 or 6 members at the moment, but I think I missed the whole slide. And so these are the 18 cities. I think I missed to add 2 more, which is Coimbatore and I don't know which one. And you can see few of them few of them are inactive, or few of them are new, or few are independent, which means we started it and now they run on their own. These are the pictures from few of our event. So we have funded, few of these past grantees. Possible paper ink is an ink, paper display, ink display, based out of Mumbai. And then other projects like Firefiles. We have also funded organizations like Internet Freedom Foundation, InterHub Foundation, SMC. So on the grant side, we also promoting the FOSS fund from Zerodha, and they are pledged to give $1 million per year to open source projects. You could scan the QR code in the right side on each slides to learn more about them. We also send this slide to our group, or we'll send over email if you have already answered it. We also fund events, FOSS events very specifically to promote, so that they can get some support from us, so that they can keep doing some good stuff. Some of the recent events are Debuts of Kochi, Kubukonesha, and FOSS Meet. If you again are interested in it, this link, this grant page will help you to land to the event application. It's usually an email, and then there's no form as such. Okay, again FOSS Club, and under the public policy we have currently 2 initiatives going on. Most active ones. There are other things, but not much activity. We have started an initiative called End Software Patent India. This is not. This is a global initiative by, I think, not sure the foundation. I think one of the partner of End Software Patents is Free Software Foundation, and Venkatesh Hariharan, who was working with us as a public policy director, he started this, and currently there are a lot of companies who have supported the this particular initiative where we are trying to uh, we are talking about things to end software patents, at least in India. And we have partnered with Takshashila Institution. You might have seen the board, this, they are second floor of this building. And we, every quarter, we give scholarship to 5, 6 FOSS developers to go and learn tech and policy course. We give 80% discount scholarship on the total amount, which is around 30, 35K, between 30, 35K. Again, you can learn more about this through this QR code. Anyway, you can find this important stuff on the navbar of our website. Again, OSS is supposed to, has been established, has been set up to help non-profit organizations using FOSS. So the alliance members are either vendors who build software for non-profit organizations at very low cost, or volunteers, individual volunteers who also like to work with individual any non-profit projects. You can become alliance member by just checking out the website osshq.org, and we are able to sustain, we are able to run this foundation for the last 5 years because of a lot of organizations or individual who help us to run. So, Samadhika Foundation is our patron, Frappe, Platinum partner. Frappe, we use Frappe to for our day-to-day job. It will be our website, it will be our any application that we open up. In fact, the parent project, which Harsh is going to talk about, is also built on top of Frappe. Uh, Sensible and the Comic Company are our silver partners. You can become one by, or you can help us spread the word about it. You can find more details on the website. The QR code is there in the slide. Again, if we have you can scan this QR code if you want to join, find out where are we, where do we exist. For example, we have Telegram, we have Element, we have basically a lot of ways. You can find our social media channels like YouTube through this Mastodon, or even the Telegram for city-wise groups. Uh, Again, or if you don't want to go through all of the stuff, or this one I send one email every month, you can subscribe to the newsletter. Again, the route is mentioned here, the QR code. If you are looking for a job or hiring, you can check out our job portal. We are promoting this a lot so that a lot more companies open their post their job here, and or for the people who are looking for job into the FOSS companies, or uh, not just FOSS companies but any company who use FOSS for such roles. That's it for the opening note. I know a lot of you are waiting for the talks schedule, so I would like to invite Hari on the stage to have the first session, which is FOSS Fund.
That would be perfect. Yeah. It's unmuted, right? Yeah. You can. Yes. So, hello everyone. I'm Hari. I'm a DevOps engineer at Zero, and part of the FOSS team. Today, I'm here to talk about FOSS. As Frostman was mentioned earlier, you might be aware. So it's an initiative from Zeta to support free open source software projects financially, with the aim of donating up to $1 million every year. And yeah, it's a more structured approach to funding. We have a dedicated team that we look for applications and analyze and accept applications. The idea is to have around $10,000 to $100,000 per recipient when accepted. We're open for applications from all around the world, not just India. And Flossman also introduces this concept of funding.json. I'll talk about that in a bit later, but the idea is to use that for discovery projects that actually need funding. It's a more decentralized approach to gather data about funding needs for FOSS projects. You can scan the QR code, it will take you to FOSS.fund, that's our page. Yeah, since we launched it like about a month and a half ago, it was quickly received positively all around the world. We were on Hacker News trending page within like a few hours. Many large projects have already applied for Frostpoint, and some media outlets picked it up. Even GitHub recognized these efforts for setting up Frostpoint. It was necessary for Azure to set up a fund because Azure has been donating towards open source projects for a long time, but it has been ad hoc. Like you would identify projects that are useful, and then there's a lot of back and forth. We reach out to the devs, and then we'll wait for them to respond back. And sometimes it could be awkward if the devs were not expecting someone to reach out to them. There have been like cases where the devs were like, taken aback and surprised that someone reached out to them to offer fund, to offer to fund them. So yeah, to avoid all that, we wanted like a separate small team that look for look at just for funding FOSS projects and not like part of and not get involved in anything that the projects do. So that's one of the philosophies. Like, there's also a tagline on the page, no strings attached. We don't expect anything in return, we just give them. You might be thinking, why would someone do this? Mainly, the first thing is goodwill. We are using FOSS projects on a day-to-day basis, so it's the right thing to do that. And secondly, practically thinking also, we depend on FOSS projects every day. And if any project that goes unmaintained, it could have adverse effects for the business as well. So it's logical that we go back to the FOSS community as much as we can. I mentioned why it was needed, but why a separate fund? I think we started noticing this trend where like a lot of projects have gone into an open code model where some features are paywalled and then there's licensing changes in Redis has been a big example lately. And all this like sort of signal that there is no strong financial support structure for open source projects. And that's where we try to pitch for to provide a structure, to provide some base, maybe it's more of an experiment right now, but something that other companies can also pick up down the line. I'll talk about funding for JSON. This is something that we introduced with Frost Fund. It's just a simple JSON file that you can place in your website or your project repository. This is mandatory if you want to apply towards Frost Fund, but this is an open spec. Anyone can use this. It's a machine readable format, and it's easier to search and index, a JSON file. So it mainly consists of three parts: entity, projects, funding. The entity is what who will be receiving the fund. So it could be an individual, it could be a corporation, it could be anyone. It's some metadata about the entity. It could be a company. They can write down their metadata information here. And there's this pattern that we notice everywhere. Wherever there's a URL, we also take in a well known because so if you have used ORDC setup or if you have worked with domain verification, there is this well-known URI that you set up to sort of show that you control the domain. So we use that to validate that the person submitting the funding from file is actually, is authorized to act on behalf of the project. So that's how you authenticate, sort of authenticate, authorize, validate, things like that. And similarly, for projects, entity can have multiple projects that they maintain, so they can list down all the projects here. And yeah, similarly, you have tags, licenses. So right now, FOSS fund is only going to, accept. So FOSS fund itself is, I think I would like to put it as a separate thing than funding validation. Funding validation is supposed to be an open spec that anyone can adopt. FOSS fund just uses it. And the current criteria for it to be accepted into FOSS fund is that it should be open source, it should have OSI license. And we are currently looking for vital, critical, already used open source projects. So newer projects might not be accepted right now, but that's something that we're still trying to learn. Similarly, this funding structure will have all your channels. So channels could be how you will be accepting the fund. It could be a banking channel, it could be PayPal, or any sort of a mechanism where you can accept funds. And you have different plans. So each plan you could have it's like tiers. If you've seen Patreon or things like that, there are different tiers, right? So the similar concept here, you can describe what you're using that fund for, currency, frequency, stuff like that. And there's also an option of history field where you can publish your past incomes and expenses. It's more of like, it's not audited, of course, but it's just a transparency principle to practice. I'll quickly show the portal. So this is where, this is the FOSS fund portal where if you're going to apply for FOSS fund, you'll be visiting this portal and submitting a project. All you need is just a funding.json file. You can just submit it here, we'll index it, and it will quickly become searchable here. So this portal is meant as a general search engine for projects that have a funding.json. You may not be accepted for the FOSS fund grant, but you can still showcase your project here. And the funding.json file is parsed and rendered in a easy to follow manner. So if I go into a project here, I can see all the details of the project, and this is the different projects that they're maintaining, and I can look at the funding plans that they have. So even as an individual, if I want to donate to a project, I can come here, I can look at a comprehensive view of what all options they have. And I can also quickly go here, if they accept to get a sponsors open directory, I can click on that, and I get more details here. So it's a more, I think, yeah, it's a more streamlined process. And there's also the history view that I'd like to show. Yeah, there's already a lot of really cool projects that have applied for FOSS fund. And if I go to history here, you can also publish your past spendings. It's a good thing that you can see transparently that how much they receive, how much their expenses were for the past years. So yeah, quickly wrapping up. The long-term goals of FOSS fund, first is to promote the financial sustainability of FOSS projects. Second thing is we want to encourage other companies to do the same. We're still learning, it's still an experiment, but we would like other companies to also follow the same path and set up their own fund, where they can sponsor projects that they like. The third thing is something that's a long-term goal, to make this even more decentralized. Right now, there's a small selection currently within Zilazar and we review and select projects, but the idea is to make it public, where the FOSS committee members can vote and select which project should receive the grant. And yeah, I think the last goal is to see how that funding validation works. It's already been gained a lot of attention in the past months. We're still very hopeful of this, that there could be a useful mechanism to discover projects that actually need funding. So, yeah, thank you. Any questions? I'm open to answer. Yeah, we'll publish it on the first one now. So right now we haven't selected any projects yet. It's still open. There's no timeline or deadline or anything like that. We'll on a regular basis we'll scan for new projects that require funding and disperse, and all the details will be published on the blog. First one.
So will there be like a funded plantation?
I mean, we can explore that. I mean, we do ask, the only thing that we ask is the projects mentioned that they receive funds from cross-fund so that other projects can also, discover cross-fund. But that's the only thing, we don't do any advertising yet.
No, it's not about advertising. See, basically what you're doing is you're generating data.
Right.
So, the social science people, they like data. They like accurate data. So you have to look at it as, can you generate accurate data?
Yeah, I think that's an experiment. Yeah.
So I raised the issue on the.
Oh yeah.
So that's me. So the point is that if you have accurate data,
Right.
it just is one less disclaimer in people's research report,
Right.
which is very much in your problem.
I'm interested in your public voting mechanics.
Yeah, yes.
That is
Yeah,
scary.
Yeah, I think the next topic is about voting, right? Voting will go. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I mean that's still a long-term goal. We're still figuring out. We don't have a process yet. We're still learning a lot. But I think having a public forum where people can vote, that'll be a nice thing to have. Probably 1 or 2 years down the line.
I'll just say that just be aware of it. Like there is like blackboard by one kind of situation. I don't know if you've heard about that. So there was a vote which was supposed to be named by something, and people voted for a year to name of blackboard time. So, I just want to be sure like voting has to be very controlled in some form.
Yeah. So we have this Venmo URL. So Venmo, so if you can host the funding foundation anywhere. It could be a website or it could be a. But the project URL could be different. For example, if you're funding foundation on GitHub, but your project has some example.com URL. So how will we know that that is the actual project that's submitted? So the way we do that is you add a small text file in a slash.well directory wherever you are hosting your project. So we go there, validate, and it points to the actual funding.json file. So it completes the loop. It's like a problem is checked. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. So we have the next talk, ballot, open source, lecture campaign by Harsh at FOSS.
Hi guys, so I'll be talking about ballot. First of all, introductions. My name is Harsh. I'm 23. I like tech, I like art, and I love building tech. So other than that, I work as a software engineer at FOSS United. If I include my internship days, I think it's about 1 year I've been here. So yeah. So ballot, right? What is ballot? So I struggle from giving one-line definitions to my projects. So I thought, and I came up with this. So it's an open source election management system that's built on top of Happy Framework. But really, more than that, it's a fun little side project. Um, Before I tell you about the technical details of ballot, let's talk about how it came to be. Right? It was around after India FOSS. We were all just working really hard, and I was just thinking about what bugs I should fix from the million of bugs that are in the platform, right? And then Rahul comes in and he says that we are doing elections. So I was like, elections? Why? Why are we doing elections? So basically, we are electing a governing body at FOSS United, which can overlook all the activities that the FOSS United does and just steer us in a way that's good for the whole open source community in India, right? So yeah, we were thinking what we can do to make it such that we can host elections. We researched about other open source software which would enable us to host elections. We went through Electro. We are still thinking if we should do it just with Electro. But yeah, then Shri suggested that why don't you work on something that will just integrate with the FOSS United website that you have. And we thought that's a really great idea actually, because our book website is built on Frappe framework, and it's very easy to just create another app that just does election stuff and then just install it on our bench and deploy it to our website. So that made perfect sense. Thanks, Shri. So we had problem statements that we wanted to address, right? We wanted to make something that could be used to host elections community-wide. We had to make sure that it worked with our current platform, the FOSSUnited.org website. We had to make sure that anyone that ever signed up for FOSSUnited.org website was able to do voting to the elections held on our side. And we wanted to make something collaborative, right? Hosting an election is not one man or two man job, right? So yeah, we wanted to make it collaborative so that we can make teams and then members can join that team and handle different stuff. So right now in our FOSS United elections, there's 3 core members, I'll say, if I count myself. There's Rahul, there's me, and there's Ram. So yeah, to address all of these things, I started working on Ballot. So Ballot again is an open source election management system. It's built on top of Frappe framework. Why Frappe framework? I already told you. We wanted something that worked with our site. The front end is powered by Vue.js. I think Vue.js is better than React. So yeah. So we just went ahead with that because I'm very proficient with Vue rather than React. So yeah. This is something of a very dumbed down diagram of how data structures kind of is. You have users. Users can create teams. Teams then create elections, and then elections have different aspects to them. There's your candidature form, candidation management. There's your nominations, and then there's votings and n number of types of votings that there are in elections. So yeah, this is basically a dumbed down version of it, of how the app generally is. Maybe I can show you, and that would be a better thing to do. So Ballot is actually deployed to FOSSUnited.org right now. As you can see, I am not in any teams currently, but there is an active election, a test election that Rahul created, where Rahul is the only candidate, it seems. So, so yeah, let's just check this out. Okay, Rahul's forms, and Rahul has commented that he thinks he will make a great addition. Nice. All right, I'll show you how the basic workflow is. So you have your dashboard. You go ahead, you create your team. All right. It's a bit slow. When team is created, this is a bug because it doesn't load on the first try. I'll go here, I'll go here. All right, you have your team. You can add members. You can add members through their emails. So if I go ahead and add Ansh, can I do that? Ansh. Sorry, I'm doxing your email, Ansh. So yeah, I can add Ansh, and then I can go to elections. I can create new elections. Just I'll do test. I'll create a draft election. It's created. You go there. This is again a bug, and then there's candidate There's candidate form that you can create. You go to forms, you have a form builder of sorts, and then you create your form, then it's live on the website as you saw, right? I'll just go back to the test election. Yeah, so this is your election page. You'll have your candidate applications. So for this application, it's live. Let's go to apply. So these all form fields, they were given by the organizers of the elections. So there you have it. You fill up your details and then you submit your forms. You are live on the page as a candidate. Then when the voting time comes, people go and vote whether they see you fit as a whatever your candidation, right? So yeah, there's that a simple workflow of how things work at ballot. Coming back, I'll keep doing this. All right. So yeah, that's pretty much it, but it's still a work in progress, right? It's so much work in progress that there's no voting mechanism at all. So, so yeah, it's still a work in progress, but we are trying to have elections by next month if possible. Hopefully, otherwise it's just January. Uh, so yeah, I'm looking for contributions if anyone's interested. And we as whole are looking for contributions at FOSS United. So yeah, that's my talk. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Be sure that your software will not influence the.
Oh yeah.
I mean, as in bugs.
Yeah, so I have tried to follow a test-driven mechanism, like throughout developing the ballot, right? I wrote tests first, and then those tests failed, and then I wrote solutions for that. So I have made sure that roles permissions are set in such a way that even the administrator cannot influence the votes. That's a good thing. That's a nice thing. Yes.
Do you have any plans for managing electoral secrecy and like who is given vote to whom and will it be visible to, for example, the current CEO at FOSS United?
Oh yes. So I Rahul cannot stand in the elections. So. But yeah, team members generally have an insight like who's voting for what, right? Not who's voting, but how many votes are there. That should be recognized, right? Who is voting for who? No, not who, but how many votes of candidate is getting.
If you open, like, for example, the Postgres database, the data is still there, right?
Yes, the data is still there in the desk.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why we had to create a app, right? So suppose someone who has a desk access can go in the desk and he definitely can see the details of who voted on what. I think we can make it so that that's not the case. I think, yeah, we can make it so that it's not the case, but yeah. Right now, someone can go to the desk and see who's voting for what, but team members don't really have desk access. So that's it in that.
But, but verification and anonymity both cannot go together.
Yeah, so anyone has. Uh, so in Frappe, right, whoever signs up and whoever has a desk access has access to almost all the data, I believe. But the roles set in this are such that they don't get the desk access. So in that sense, it's safe. But for people who have desk access, yeah, we have to make changes in that as well.
Hey, I had one doubt. In fact, how is FOSS eventually deployed? Is it from the cloud or is it
Frappe Cloud.
your subscriptions and it's managed by them?
Yeah, so Frappe like gives cloud access for free. So
Good evening, everyone. The fun bit here was convincing Vishal that home serving is a real word and it's a real field in technology.
I am Vishal, by the way. I haven't introduced yet.
So I recently built a home server. I mean, home server is a bit of a fancy name for a CPU box below. This is a hardware spec. I've been meaning to build one for a while, assemble a computer for a while. And I think the last time I assembled a PC was when I was in high school, a long time ago. So this is what the hardware looks like. And uh, when I was picking the CPU, there was this big debate in my team that Intel CPUs are dead. They're all faulty on arrival. You should go with an AMD CPU. But somehow, I think Chinmay found this particular CPU, which is good, which is old stock or whatever. So just compiling this list involved a lot of infighting between multiple people and their opinions. I had no opinion here, but it's a decent spec. I wanted 4 terabytes of storage space and a decent everything. Even that cabinet there were proper ideological wars between people to arrive at that one suggestion. This is what it looks like. It's a personal computer cabinet, but so this was assembled recently, and this was the easy bit. I spent, I don't know, like 2, 3 of us spent a couple of hours, and it was assembled, and we turned it on, and it worked on the first try. But the interesting and annoying bits were obviously the software bits, and that's what I'd like to talk about today. So my goals with the physical box is to be off cloud. I was never really on cloud ever. I have photos going back, personal photos going back to I think 2001, 2002, like potato quality photos, all the way to 2024, and I have been cataloging them in a YYMMDB directory structure on a hard disk, copied from hard disk to hard disk over the last 23 years. So, because I was so set in my way, I never realized that if you just archive photos in directories, you never really go back and look at them. I plug them in once a year and perhaps take a look, and the way you interact with photos have completely changed. Say, Google Photos, your phone's gallery, etc. So, one point I was like, I should set up a proper system to host my personal data, and I don't want to be on cloud. I was never on cloud. Might as well do it and be a fun project. So my goals are basically that, to have personal apps that I host that I can access from my devices, personal archive my data, have live backups from my workstation, my laptop, whatever, to this box, and give photos like proper life. So again, somebody convinced me to install Arch on the server, and I fell for it. I mean, in fact, we finished assembling the server there, and I think Sharad came running, plugged in the USB, and immediately installed Arch, and I didn't even have a choice. So I went with it. But 2 days later, the reality hit. I had to wipe the entire system and install Debian. So when you have a server, stability is paramount. You don't really care about all the cool features or operating system widgets. None of those things matter. What you want is stability. This thing should run practically for a very long time, and obviously Debian is a common sense choice. So that happened. Lost a lot of time there. Then the other common sense measure was to keep this box black while being connected to the internet. So there's no networking except for Tailscale. I do want to move away from Tailscale to something like Netbird, which is self-hosted, but just didn't have the time. So that's how I've set up the box. It has no network access except for via Tailscale, which is a really sophisticated wrapper on top of WireGuard. The operating system is on a 1 terabyte NVMe stick, and the 2 hard disks. They are BTRFS. The file system is BTRFS, and one is a mirror of the other. Now, the choice between ZFS and BTRFS almost ended in fights within the team. I didn't have a choice. I was okay to explore whatever. So ZFS versus this became like a proper heated ideological battle. And in the end, I just settled with BTRFS because my laptop, on which I run Fedora, also runs BTRFS, and it's that. But the cool thing was, plugged in both the hard disks and a single command. BTRFS mirror something. The second disk immediately became the first disk's mirror. Now that was extremely seamless. Whatever happens on the first disk is mirrored in real time to the second disk with zero configuration. So it acts as a backup. Another interesting thing that I completely forgotten, but somebody reminded me, was that you shouldn't get two SSDs from the same manufacturer from the same batch. They're prone to failing together. So I have a Synology SSD and a Toshiba SSD, and they mirror each other. Now this is a backup. This is an offsite, offline backup, my box, but that's not ideal. A lot of data is on my laptop. That's backed up here. But there could be an electrical short circuit, there could be whatever, there could be theft. So I have configured Restic. That also involved a lot of R&D. There's BOR, there's so many things. Duplicate, there is a bunch of things. Finally, I settled with Restic, but with Backrest as a UI. I realized Backrest isn't very popular. Do check it out. It's a really nice and simple web UI on top of Restic. So I configured that. So that every few days backs up the entire server as an encrypted dumb blob to B2 cloud. So there's that. So I have my primary data on my laptop. It's all mirrored via Tailscale rsync SSH to this box. Photos are all here, all my data is here. And from here, it's also periodically backed up as an encrypted blob. So that's 3 copies. Now the other big decision to make was, how do you deploy and install and manage apps? You can do app install, image, you can do app install, whatever. But a lot of these apps don't really have good packaging on most distros. Many of these personal home server kind of apps. So Docker is the easiest way to do this. Different database versions, etc., easy, lazy version. So I figured I'll just do copy paste Docker compose files and just run them manually. So I started doing that and immediately forgot what all I was running. And it's very painful to do Docker PS. It's very non-intuitive. And I forgot which ports what was running on. Then I figured that I'd rather have a simple, nice UI to manage my apps. Then, I decided to run all my apps via Docker. But the one interesting thing I did, one thing I did here was mount the global configuration in Docker, where Docker volumes are stored to the hard disk, so that everything in Docker volumes is also backed up to the B2 cloud as an encrypted blob by Restic, so that I don't have to think about backing up my app separately. It all happens seamlessly. So I finally settled with this thing called Komodo. Turns out this is also a rather new project, and so I started with Portainer. Now that's a really popular, widely used project. It was quite decent, but there was something off about it, using it. I installed it, set up apps, and ended up deleting all of that. And it also has a weird license now. At some point, I think in the last year or so, the license switched to some obscure FOSS looking license, but couldn't figure it out, so I ditched it. Coolify is another program that's become really popular. I installed it, used it, installed a bunch of apps, and I really did not like it. The UI was really extremely edgy, opinionated. It was really weird. It was very unprofessional. But it's become really popular. I guess it's useful. So I moved all the apps from Portainer to Coolify. Then I got pissed off by Coolify and deleted all of that and found Komodo. So I'm using Komodo now. It's a nice, clean-looking UI for deploying Docker applications, managing them. So deployments are really simple. You create a thing called new stack, copy paste your Docker compose file that you would have gotten from whichever app's website, and you press a button, you're live. So you can see all your apps here, you can manage the resources, etc. here. Really nice, simple, lightweight UI. Then, if you have a server, you have to monitor it. So Current has a really sophisticated monitoring setup, extremely over-engineered, over-complicated, full-fledged Grafana dashboards, etc., etc. I didn't want that. I just wanted basic monitoring. Hard disk, CPU temperature. You suddenly care about CPU temperatures when you are hosting a server at home. So I wanted that. So I looked at net data. It's really popular. It's really big. But the weird thing is the engine is open source, but the UI, which is what I wanted, is not FOSS. And also it exposes like a billion different metrics. It's very hard to make sense of. So not ideal for like a simple personal server. And I ended up with this thing called Glances. It's a Python project. When you run the Glances command, this is what it renders, but it has APIs for all of these things. So if you have a simple visualization thing that supports a Glances API, you just plug this in. But installing this was a pain. So on Debian, if you do pip install whatever, you get a warning now saying that you can't install system level packages. Then went down the pip x rabbit hole, and I think the package management thing in the Python world has worsened in the last 5 years further. There was Twine, there was Poetry, there's now I don't even know what this is anymore. Anyway, I managed to install it finally somehow. Now, if you have a server, you have to do server administration. Of course, you can just SSH and manage your server, but it's good to have visualization. And SSH, just SSHing, remembering a bunch of things to check, etc. is painful. So I wanted a UI for that. And I tried out a bunch of things. Agenty looked nice. It had a nice web-based UI, but I couldn't get it to work. I spent, I think, a couple of hours trying to install it. Because of Python dependency issues, I simply couldn't, so I gave up. Webmin and Plesk are really popular, but they're really big. They're more geared towards web hosting and shared hosting environments, not ideal for personal systems, so I ditched that. Cockpit is great, is rock solid. I had this misconception that it is really heavy, it is meant for enterprise level stuff. It's made by Red Hat. But I tried it out anyway, and it turned out to be really nice, super simple to use, and lightweight. So I went with Cockpit. Cockpit gives you UI like this, which is really nice and clean coming from Red Hat and lightweight. So this is also really useful. You get an update or a notification when there's updates available. You can do basic firewall management, all kinds of basic stuff from this UI. What you would do on SSH, via SSH, you can just do it here. And I found this to be very convenient. So I have Cockpit also running. Then came the other issue. I installed a bunch of applications, Image, Git, Komodo, and I immediately forgot what all ports they ran on. Git runs on port 300, Komodo runs on port 3120, Glances runs on port 61. Who can remember this stuff, right? So simply cataloging apps to see what is running where became a problem. Then I ran into another problem immediately. I installed 5 or 6 of these apps, and I generated random passwords using the Firefox password manager. And I saved those passwords, and then it became a pain to autofill those passwords because everything is, if all your apps show up on the same IP, but with a different port. And it became a nightmare within the second or third hour. Then I figured that I'd rather have domain names, custom domain names per service, image.myserver or komodo.myserver. Much easier to remember, visualize, and manage. So I looked at a bunch of solutions. I can't recollect which one, but I settled with Nginx Proxy Manager. It was very easy to install, and it gives you a nice UI to simply add a subdomain. It's a UI on top of Nginx. So I ended up using this, and this was super convenient. Oh yeah, so the one hack, and I wasn't very familiar with how Docker works, that I'd figured out was, this is running inside a Docker container. All the other apps are also running inside Docker containers, and this is a proxy. So it has to receive requests on the domain name, and it has to forward it from one container to another container. So I ended up creating a Docker network called proxy. I think it's called, in Docker parlance, it's called external network, something like that. So I created a network called proxy in Docker and attached it to every single app that was running. I mean, just defining it in the Docker compose file. And then it all worked. I don't know if that is the idiomatic way, but it worked. Now this was the most interesting bit, and it started with a disaster. So the disks are obviously encrypted, LUKS, And when you reboot the system or there's a power failure or whatever, the system comes up, you have to physically enter the password for your drives to be unlocked so that the operating system can boot. Now, for a server, that is not ideal. If you start depending on a server that is plugged into your bedroom and your host accessing services from it from, when you're traveling or whatever, and there's a power fluctuation, somebody has to now go physically approach the server, connect the monitor, connect the keyboard, and enter the password. So I immediately wanted to remote unlock, and I did a bit of research to figure out what are the common ways of doing it. Most people the most common suggestion is to just have a key file on the disk, which defies the point. I mean, if somebody can just pick up your disk, they get your key file. So obviously I didn't want that. Then the other solution is to have another server, like a small Raspberry Pi sort of a system that is always listening on the internet, which is connected to this, which acts as a key management device. So if your server turns off, you connect to your Raspberry Pi, which is unencrypted via SSH, then you remote unlock this, and that's connected to the system as well. It's very convoluted and makes no sense. If somebody has physical proximity, they can just log in anyway. Then stumbled upon the idea of using remote unlock via SSH using Tailscale. Tailscale can be anything. You can run your own SSH with Dropware or whatever. But because I was using Tailscale anyway, I found this project which had already done all of this. So it was just as simple as copy pasting a couple of lines to rebuild your init ramfs image. So what happens right now is when the server starts, the init image, the boot image, connects the network, it goes online, it initiates Tailscale and registers on the Tailscale network as a init device with very limited permissions. So I can now SSH into my Tailscale network, into this init ramfs instance that is waiting there, and just do crypt unlock. And then it boots into the main operating system. So even if the server is restarted or whatever, I can just log into Tailscale, log in via Tailscale SSH and unlock and boot. This was really cool. So I tried doing this with Arch. In my first 2 days of dealing with Arch, I tried manually scripting all of this to it and completely bricked the Arch installation. So I had to reinstall Arch itself multiple times before I finally ran it on Debian. Yeah, so once you have a server, so I had this, people share their server homepage screens. I'd seen a bunch on Reddit and I always thought it was so lame. Why are people putting in so much effort? Like it's like customizing a wallpaper and desktop theme. But once I had my own server, I immediately realized the need for it. When I approached my server, I wanted a landing page that gives me some shortcuts, some overviews. And then I realized the importance of having a homepage. And then I went down the rabbit hole of finding a system. I didn't want to, build all of this from scratch, just didn't have the time. System that will give you a basic homepage. And Heimdall is a really big, popular project. And there's the R stack, that also has a homepage project. There's also Dashi, which is really popular, but they all suck. Dashi was the worst, most popular. Every time you make a change on Dashi, add a widget, whatever, it runs an entire Node.js pipeline to rebuild the entire simple static homepage, which was really bad. So finally stumbled upon this thing called gethomepage.dev. It looks like this, no nonsense. Those are the Glances thing I installed earlier. These widgets are rendered from the Glances API, and I have a bunch of links. So all of this is a YAML file configuration. So this is nice. When I log into my server now has a home page, and this is what I see. Oh, finally, a shout out for Image. I don't know if you guys have tried out Image. It is quite mind blowing. It's a Google Photos alternative. Even the UI looks very familiar. So I imported, tens of thousands of my old photos all into Image, and everything worked out of the box. It has local machine learning that does object recognition, face detection. So I think that night I sat and cataloged some 800 faces, cousins, friends from school. So it shows you all the faces. I tagged all of them. So Image is mind blowing. It has a high quality mobile app, FOSS by the way. This is the server side view, looks exactly like Google Photos. It has all the advanced modern photo management features. Search is fast, rendering is fast, encoding, decoding is fast, video is fast. Everything is just snappy, far better than Google Photos. So if you're looking at a solution for photo management, please look at Image. That's it. Thank you. So that's my home server.
Thanks, Kailash. Questions?
That's not real wood, that's plywood. There was a big battle in the office between people saying real wood is better than plywood. There's a cabinet company, I forgot what it's called. Yeah, someone does it. So they pioneered adding chips of wood to the CPU, it became a trend. And this company copied its plywood, and that's also ideological. Ideological battles everywhere. But this cabinet does not have an LED indicator, so you can't figure out if the system is on or not. You have to peek behind and look at the Ethernet light blinking.
Questions?
Right, so do you need a static IP for accessing this or does it take
Tailscale gives you a static IP. So every tailscale network, they call it tailnet, every device has a static IP.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask about Tailscale. So, have you added any custom DNS grid, like if you want to share something with someone who's not in your Tailscale network, in addition to the content that Tailscale provides? If yes or no?
I think they call it magic DNS or something. No, I haven't used that.
Even I was trying, so I wanted to know if you could do it or not.
I didn't, and I don't want to because that's Tailscale's magic on top of their service. So I don't want a Tailscale lock-in. Today it's just access, and I can swap it out with network, whatever. But if I start using the DNS service, then I'll get locked in. So no.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so I wanted to know like what's the back strategy? Do you use like stable back since it's encrypted, how are the like keys and decryption and whether
So the disks themselves are encrypted, standard Lux encryption, all the data is there. Then Restic incrementally backs up this all the data here onto the disk as snapshots. So daily snapshot, weekly, all incremental, so it's reasonably space efficient on the cloud. The cloud is whatever, any blob storage. So first level of backup is the server itself, disk one. The second level of backup is the BTRFS mirror, which is disk 2. So if this one blows, I have disk 2. But if this one and disk 2 all blow, then I have to rely on the V2 cloud, the encrypted cloud. So Restic will unsnapshot it and give you whatever it back. I've never had to try it, but I have a feeling that day it's required and it has to be tried, it won't work. I mean, it will work, but so with backups you have to do drill runs. I've never yet to do it.
Other questions?
Are you planning on hosting like Selfie or like
Even if I was planning, it would be for watching Creative Commons documentaries only, not pirate stuff.
And was that the last question? Okay.
Why not Homeland? Why did you go home server?
I just wanted to convince him that it's a thing. Home servering is not even a thing.
so what all things you are using some of what you're planning? Have you load tested or something?
Load tested, no. Actually, loading tens of thousands of photos into image, which also has local machine learning, encoding, re-encoding, etc., was a great load test. So I watched the CPU temperature. I think this is a great CPU, the Intel one has. So it didn't even flinch. I have photo, video, stuff, etc. Slowly want to get members of my family image apps so that they can also access these photos. I have Gitty here, and I've started moving my old repositories that have all been on my primary workstation to Gitty here. And what else? That's about it for now. But oh yeah, the other thing that I want to do is run Llama models locally, CPU, and use that CPU. So I have a bunch of dictionary language projects, and I've been meaning to create a pipeline of auto correction, spell correction, generation, etc. So I want to run those experiments here. Now, I could have run it on an EC2 instance somewhere, but this feels like home.
I have one question. So, FOSS uses Nextcloud for okay. FOSS. So did you consider it, or it was also the vendor of
Nextcloud was an amazing project, but there was this big major upgrade that happened 2 years ago, and Nextcloud kind of sucks now. The entire experience has become extremely bloated. We use it at work also heavily. So I'm not a fan of Nextcloud anymore. I'm hoping they'll unwind the UI mess that they've created. And I think Nextcloud is also an overkill for my current use cases. Oh, sorry. The third thing is backup. So I have my laptop, all my work, personal stuff, etc., which gets snapshotted here. So that's also super quick.
And I think that was the last question. Okay, thank you so much. Now
Thank you.
we have tea. Tea is here. And that's it for the day. Feel free to stay here, catch up with other participants as long as you can. And 6. Oh yeah, and we have the volunteer form right here in case you are interested in helping us to run these events. Not just events, but there are a lot of various other programs or groups you can join. For example, all the events that we do and the proposal that we receive goes through a review session, and there are independent volunteers, distributed volunteers across India who help us to review those talks, making sure they are following our guidelines of free and open source software, hardware, everything. So we already have I think 2 weeks left before the application closes. So, and there are a lot more groups. Once you sign up, we'll reach out to you based on the interest that you have filled in. Thank you so much. Depends on how much you want to commit. We don't. It could be 1 hour a week or just one time support.